Hey there, brother. This is Steve and Dan again, here to talk to you about another topic that we want to address when it comes to men living the life they want to live. In our last video, we talked about how to close some doors so you can open up new ones, how to say no to things so you can say yes to the things you really want. We want to continue on that theme by talking about the way most of us can tend to live in mediocrity. A lot of us can tend to follow the lowest energy in the house or in our circle of friends, and we always go down instead of going up. And if you don't want mediocrity, today's video is about that. It's about changing you in order to create what you really want. So we want to read you a passage from an article that Dan wrote here real quick. This is pretty powerful. I'm going to read it to you. And the title of this one in the article is The Opposite of Success Isn't Failure, It's Mediocrity. And what do we mean by this? Mediocrity in relationships looks like this: low tension, no arguments, no passion, no intimacy, and no connection. It's not dramatic, it's just flat. It's boring, but safe. You stop trying, she stops caring. Sex vanishes. Intimacy dies quietly. It's better to face a hard truth, even risk losing your relationship, than to coast into numbness. Men who have the kind of marriage that you want don't settle for not bad. They fight with passion for what they want, even if it means burning down the old version of the relationship. To them, it's worth it to build something real. Now, every sentence in what I just wrote can shake you a little bit. It can make the hairs on the back of your neck raise up a little bit, because we know that living in a mediocre mindset, sitting on the couch, wishing you had more, it can be debilitating, and it can make you numb to where you start to not care anymore. Like, this is who I am. This is my life. This is what I get. And we're here to tell you that that's not the way it goes. It's not the way it's supposed to go. And Dan, do you want to start first talking about your mindset and when you first learned this idea of steering away from mediocrity?
Yeah, well, I think that it's very easy to get into this kind of situation, both in a relationship, but also in other parts of life. Like we've talked before in previous videos about work, getting to a point where I'm in a good place in work, and I know I can do my job, and I earn good money for it, and I'm kind of bored, and meh. And I clock in, I clock out, and I kind of phone it in, and I don't get the sack, but also I don't actually really push myself or achieve anything. But in the relationship realm of things, if things are not passionate, if they're just kind of boring but safe, then a lot of guys are kind of broiling on the inside. And so we want to kind of tap into that a little bit, tap into that energy a little bit, because to have something change, you actually have to show that you care about something. You have to show that something's important to you. And you also have to know how to take the lead in how to create what you want, how to go after what you want, how to communicate about what you want. That's a lot of what we do with guys. So you have to find what it is that you care about, find what it is that you want. And you have to get clear about what that sounds like. And you have to get clear about what it looks like, sounds like, feels like, all tastes like. You really have to kind of get into it. That's a lot of what we do with coaching with guys, is to talk to you about those things so that you get really clear, so that when you go to talk about it, you're not stumbling over your words, you're not fumbling to find, you know exactly what you want to say. It's super clear, and you know what it looks like, you know what it feels like, you know what it smells like. We've talked through these things.
There are habits we have that we don't even see coming on, but they become insidious habits that lead to mediocrity. One common story I hear is a guy who's had a tough week. Job has been shit. People are irritating and annoying him at work. His kids have been irritating him and annoying him. His wife has been annoying. And he gets out of the car in the driveway. He's coming home and he walks up to the front door and he's about to open the door and he's like, ah, shit, I don't know what's on the other side of this. He has a fear, a nervousness or anxiety about what he's about to walk into. And we say, wait. Don't open the door. Don't open the door. Go back to the car or the truck, sit there. We're going to talk about, what are you going to bring into the house? What is the house going to get from you when you finally open that door? And they go, wait, well, how will I know until I get in there? Well, the way you've been thinking is that you think you're going to walk into the same old way you get greeted, the same old way that you walk into a mess, the same old way that you get questions or challenges about why you didn't help more. You have to say, no, 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 we don't talk like that. We're more fun than this. We're better than this. We can do better than this. You have to be the guy who is always the cheerleader for doing more and doing better. So when you get back to that doorknob and you walk in, you want to be the guy who's bringing in a sense of possibility, a sense of lightness, a sense of play, a sense of love and passion for life. Was it a good day? Did the day have a good you? One of the things this guy did, he said, I am going to start walking in the door and putting my stuff down. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to the living room floor and lay down and yell dog pile. Because one of my favorite things in life is when my kids and my dogs all jump on me and it's a freaking rodeo. I love that. And I said, well, why don't you do that? He goes, I don't know. And this is where mediocrity comes in. It said, I don't know. I don't know why I'm not more fun anymore. I used to be. I used to have thoughts. I used to come in and I used to be the guy who used to set the tone. Now I follow the tone. And this is another part of mediocrity. You tend to go to the lowest common denominator. You go to the lowest mood in the house and you match that. And you're a follower of energy instead of a leader of energy. And this is what we want to help you with in coaching is to find that part of you that's bullshit. No, I'm not following anymore. I lead. I'm the guy who screams dog pile. I'm the one who tells the world to dogpile with me because I'm the one who wants what I want. Now, there's some risk here, right, Dan? I mean, when we talk at the last line of what I read is that you risk burning the old relationship, the old version to the ground so you can build something new. What are the risks if a guy starts doing this?
Well, the risks are you're going to get rejected. Somebody's going to look at you strangely. There are all sorts of stories that the brain can conjure about what the future will be like. And, the brain is not a joyous thing looking for roses and rainbows and, sparkles. The brain is a problem-solving machine, so it's just looking for problems. So if you're going to let your brain think about the future without having some kind of control over what it's looking at and thinking about, then you're just going to look at problem after problem after problem after problem. And pretty soon you're going to be pretty damn scared about the future. And so, again, that's where mediocrity lives. I've convinced myself that it's much safer and easier to just stay here because all of the bad stories that I go through in my head, okay, well then that's what you're creating. And it doesn't have to be that way. But, like you said, there's a risk. But on the other side of the risk is what you want. And you don't get to what you want. Just like in anything else in life, you don't get to have what you want if you don't go through a little bit of tension. Right? You've got to be willing to go through some tension. There's that word, intention. You've got to be willing to be in tension. What is your intention about what you want? What you want your life to be like, what you want your relationship to be like. That word says it right there. You've got to be willing to go through some tension, but on the other side of the tension is what you want. But not just a little, I'm going to dip my toe in some tension. No, I got to be committed to what I want. And this is what I'm saying about caring. You have to care about what you want. You have to find some kind of passion. If you want more passion in your relationship, you have to find some passion. If you don't find that passion, then the other person will just feel like, one, you don't care. It's not very important. Or two, they'll feel that you're too afraid. And so why should they take the risk? Why should they be vulnerable if you're not willing to take the risk? And this comes back to why we're always saying there has to be a secure, confident man leading the relationship. Because if somebody's not leading it, and yes, you could say, well, the woman could lead it, but we always say, well, she's not going to want to do that forever. At some point, she's going to want to feel the strength, the courage, the willingness for the man to say, this is what I want, and I'm going for it.
Yeah. I love that line. If you want more passion, you have to become more passionate. You have to be passion. You have to model passion. The hardest thing in coaching is to help a man find the courage to declare what he would really have if he knew he couldn't fail. What would be your ideal great day if you could have it? What's holding you back? We talked about the risks. There's one risk we want to get really clear about besides criticism and rejection, looking like the village idiot because you're too happy all the time. Her anger, her disconnection or distance. At some point, your brain might say, well, what if she finally says, I don't like the you that I see. I don't like this version of you that I see you becoming. I'm not the one for you. That's the ultimate fear. Now that'll almost never happen if you do this right. If you do this with love and caring, concern and consideration and invitation instead of anger and some of the old things, you have to believe she wants more too. You have to believe that she doesn't like mediocrity any better than you. She just doesn't know the way out. Your kids don't know the way out. Your employees don't know the way out. They need somebody to lead the way with a sense of energy, enthusiasm, and competency. And that's what we help give you in coaching. Now, if you're scared about this final rejection where, oh, I just don't like the person you've become, we want to help you understand that fearing leveling up is a matter of you fearing staying the same more. You have to be more afraid of something never changing for the next 10 or 20 years, more afraid of that than you are of the risk of taking new action. The reason most guys would rather pick just staying in the fear of mediocrity because they don't know the next step. They don't know exactly what it looks like to open the door, walk in, say daddy's home, and fall on the floor and yell dog pile. That's a metaphor for life. You can do that everywhere. Anywhere you go is be the person who is inviting dog pile type energy. Come play with me. Let's lighten up. Let's not take ourselves too seriously. Let's have fun. Let's chase passion. Instead of looking for everything that's wrong, we want you to start looking for what's right and start creating that. Last words?
Well, yeah, I just think that a lot of the guys that we talk to are very successful in the business world, and they're great communicators. But there's a certain type of communication that they do. So they're great at talking. The problem with talking is not very passionate. A lot of the time, the talking is very logical, especially when you can get into things like attachment theory and psychology and all this narcissism. You can analyze the crap out of everything, and then you just become this boring person who has a lot of information, and you can logic and rationalize to any point. You can win any argument, but that is not going to make anybody feel anything. And ultimately, if you want somebody to engage with you in a more passionate future, you got to make them feel something. So what does that mean? It means you've got to feel something. You've got to, again, find what do you want? Find who do you want to evolve into? There's a part of us that we know is sitting there in these mediocrity relationships, just dormant. We know it's there. We know it's there. We've felt it before. We've been that guy before. It's just that courage to be willing to dig him out again and dust him off a little bit and be him again a little bit.
You reminded me of who I used to be. It's like this academic, self-righteous professor who's always arguing for what he thinks should be. And he's boring as hell. He just annoys everyone because he's always coming from this intellectual, self-righteous, self-serving place. And a lot of our successful clients are like this. Doctors, lawyers, pilots, they tend to go down this self-righteous academic road. I know it well because I did it. But there's something better, and it's this brilliant clown, right? Being smart is not a detriment. But be a smart clown, be a brilliant clown, be the one who knows how to play the game, who knows how to play, period. That's more intelligent. That's more productive. It's more loving than anything you can do from an intellectual, self-righteous point of view. We want you to learn to be a clown, a smart clown. And so let's do that. Let's work on that. Maybe it's our new coaching program. Be a smart clown. And so put a comment below this video if you have any challenges, yeah, buts, or any other comments you want to share with us, and we'll reply to you.
Yeah, and one last thing on that, the smart clown. We do this with our kids all the time. We play with the kids, even if they're pissed off at us and they're calling us names and whatever. Then we just tease them and play with them, and we bring them out of whatever mood they're in. You have the skills. You already know how to do this. You just don't do it with your intimate partner. And why? Because of all the reasons that we've been talking about in this. So
go to goodguys2greatmen.com. Fill out an application. Let's have a conversation. Let's really dive into this and see what your future can be if you want to make it something new.